Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. These are quite trying times and I wish you all well and good health. I'm in my back garden veggie patch at the moment and I will be showing you what's going on here and then show you a few seedlings, and then I shall take you to the allotment and show you how it's progressing there. In front of us is the blossom for the opal plum tree, and it really is the most blossom I've seen on this sort of 5-year-old tree, so I'm really pleased with that. So I'm hoping to have some decent plums this year. If I pan over, you can see just a little bit of blossom on the Victoria plum. I did prune that quite hard back, so I'm not expecting much from that this year. But I hope I do get some of those Victoria plums because I do like them a lot. In front of me are 4 pots of potatoes, 2 are Charlottes, 1 kestrel, 1 swift, and I only hope I haven't planted them too early, because I think one normally plants them in the beginning of April, mid-April, and I planted these about 2 weeks ago, and we have had a couple of grass frosts. I have put these sort of planks on top of them because the foxes tend to dig up the soil, and you can see over there they've already started doing some of that, so I'll put an extra brick on that. In front, the Timperley Early is doing okay. It had a flower bud which I cut off. It's important to cut off the flower buds so that they don't take nutrients and strength from the plant. And also over here the champagne rhubarb is doing well, and I took a flower bud off that as well. If I come all the way round to the other side and pan to the other side, there is a decorative rhubarb, which of course I'm not going to get any edible rhubarbs from it, but it's such a beauty. I have taken the flower off for a couple of years. I've had it for 3 years, but this year I'm going to let it grow. It is the most beautiful colour. It's called Rheum palmatum atros sanguineum, and unfortunately the beautiful red leaves become green as they grow older, but they keep the redness on the underside. And now I come back to the vegetables. And this side of the vegetable patch I've got 6 more tubs of potatoes, all Charlottes. I plant about 4 or 5 to each pot, and I have spent quite a bit of time digging out some very deep-rooted brambles and also bindweed. I haven't got out all the bindweed because some of it's very close to the gravel boards, so that might be a problem in the future, but I'll keep an eye on it and see if I can maybe poison it in the future and keep it down so it won't be like it was before. And coming from the other side of the potatoes, here I have made a bed of strawberries. I've hummed and hawed on whether to grow vegetables here or not, but finally it's become a strawberry bed, and I'll be slowly moving the strawberries from the allotment to here. The first 12 of these strawberries are marshmallow, and the other 9 I've got question marks on them because I'm not sure which of those 3 strawberries, Malwina, Garriguette or Frau Mietze Schindler, that they are. I've also interplanted with some spring onions, and these few here are guardsmen. Unfortunately, the foxes have been digging this up. They do like new dug soil, which they can look for their worms. And so I shall be using some anti-bird netting very soon. Unfortunately, the foxes like sitting on anti-bird netting as well, but I'm sure we'll sort that out. And moving to the side of the strawberries, there's a Caracca blackberries, which are coming up beautifully. And you can see here that the fruit buds are coming up too. I really am looking forward to them. The pots on the ground that I think are Caracca black, some of them aren't coming through, but others are. You have to look pretty closely to find that one there and that one there, and that's a bit easier to see. So I'm hoping that they'll grow soon and I'll have a few more new plants. And here are the seedlings that I have growing indoors. At the back there is Golden Acre, which isn't doing too well. I don't know why. I had no problems with it last year, but those 2 have died off already. In the front are Calettes or Kalettes that I'm trying for the first time this year, and I'm hoping that I like them because I do like Brussels tops, but not like crazy about Brussels sprouts itself. At the back there are my favourites, cabbage called cabis. They got eaten by the slugs last year, but the year before they were so nice and my foodie neighbours really loved them. In the front is red rookie, good to have some red cabbages. And then I have the purple sprouting broccoli, which you saw the seed packets of on my last video. There's the early purple called mixed, and then here is claret. and they seem to be doing quite well. And over finally there is the pink passion Swiss chard or chard, and I'm trying that out this year. I'll have 5 on the allotment and 3 probably in my garden somewhere. I've had bright lights before and I've been very pleased with them. In fact, there's still some left on the allotment if it hasn't been done in by the frosts. Well, the perennial kale is still surviving and holding on. I'm not going to cut it down. I'm still eating it, and I will take some cuttings from it. I've got here one lot of cuttings I've taken this year. And these are the 2 pots of cuttings I took last year, which I really should have transplanted out a long time ago, which I will do ASAP. They really are quite beautiful. I want 3 of these for myself, and the rest I was going to take to Wildlife AIDS Open Day on the 5th of July. They say it's still on, but I really think it's going to be cancelled, which will be a great loss for them financially, and it's also a good day out. If anyone's in Surrey, it's in Leatherhead. And finally, these are the turbo main crop onions that I will now be putting on the allotment. And may I just mention the glorious rhododendron at the back, which has got one of my favourite colours, a deep pink. It has no name. It has no name from when I bought it from the garden centre. They bought it from someone in Spain and they no longer stock them. But that's an absolute beauty. Well, I'm on the allotment at the back of plot 2, and here are the main crop turbo onions. And that's where you can see it's slightly broken. That cane is where a foxy has had a little jump on them. I do love the foxes, but that's why I protect these plants. Over here, if we just move forward a bit, you can see where I have to plant the other sets, which, as it's a fiddly little job, I tend to do them in stages. Over here on the ground, I have where my modules that I use, and I tend to drop them all over the place. So now I put a little bit of cling film over them, or you can put a piece of paper and sticky at the back of them, and that way I can store them quite easily. Coming around to the side, that's where I had the winter cabbages, and I'd love to get some manure on there, but as you know I can't get any manure at the moment. And those 2 pots are where I have the carrots. I haven't yet decided which carrots to grow, but the bottom of the pots I've put some turfs on, which I found someone had dumped at the end of the allotment, and I made sure that there were no weeds in them so that I could fill up half the pots with turfs and then the top part with compost mixed with the last of my sand. And I'm not sure there's enough sand there because, as you know, carrots like a very sandy soil, but I'm hoping that's going to be enough. Over here I have the dahlias that for the first time I've tried to keep in the ground, so it's a bit of an experiment. I had to take the plastic off because the plants were pushing up, and I've got an awful feeling that they're going to get frosted at some point. And I've also got a few gladioli coming up as well. And at the front of the plot, those are the overwintering radar onions, which are just suddenly starting to look a bit good in this lovely weather we've had, and I've made sure that they have plenty of water. And over there are the last of the Swiss chard, and I really am going to pull them up today, but I can take again another picking from them. And at the bottom of the leaves, there's some leaves at the bottom which are still a bit spotty, which is a sort of fungus that they get in winter when the plants get a bit stressed. But I'm so impressed with the Swiss chard. And over here I'll have the bean wigwam, and I'll probably grow some Benchmaster beans. And there are some flowers on the allotment which I'm so pleased about, because I've already seen a peacock butterfly, and I think it's important to have flowers as early as possible because there are early flying bees and butterflies which need the flowers. And over there the daffodils are white lion, and they are also very beautiful. At the back of the plot again, coming from the onions round to this side, there is a whole row of raspberries. Now these 2 are meant to be Ptolemine. That one's doing quite nicely, and this one looks pretty dead to me, but I'm optimistic. So is that a shoot I see before me? No, it isn't. So I'm going to just leave it in the ground for a little while, and there's a little runner coming up there, which, if that lives, I will transplant it to over there. And here I have Morling Admiral, quite adequate, decent, nice, tasty raspberry. And as you can see, the little buds are forming. I'm looking into the sun, so I can't see too well, and there are lots of nice little shoots coming up from the ground over there. And right at the end I have Glenample, my favourite, big fat sweet juicy tasty raspberries. This is the time you might call it pruning, but we call it just tipping the ends of the branches, because it's something called apical dominance. The hormones from there suppress the hormones in the axillary buds from forming, so you don't get as many fruit as possible. When you cut out the hormones from there, these then take over and they grow. And I do ask myself, why do we do this just with raspberries? Do we not do it with brambles as well? So I sent an email to the RHS Advice Centre, and I didn't expect an answer in these times, but I got an answer within 3 days. I'll just pick it up from the ground and read a couple of lines out to you. I said, why don't we do this with brambles? And the answer was, the tipping of brambles is beneficial, and the apical dominance is not as great as for raspberries because they're not usually trained vertically, which reduces the apical dominance. However, the canes are very long, they often become quite thin, and the fruit at the end of long canes is often small. A maximum of about 3 meters long for canes of these particular brambles is long enough. So from this I get that in some places they actually bend these raspberries down a bit, and it's that bending that actually reduces the apical dominance as well as the tipping. And you can do that with all the brambles. I've got boysenberries and other berries which I'll show you in a minute. And the apical dominance isn't strong anyway, but it won't hurt to tip them as well. So I'll start to do that. And here I am at the back of plot 1, and these are my we call them bramble family. This is boysenberry, another second boysenberry over there, and one which we think might be a boysenberry there. And this is a loganberry, and I don't think I need to tip them. There's the amount of buds, absolutely beautiful. And over on this side as well, there's so many buds that I really am looking forward to a feast of berries. And moving to the other side of this little path, you've seen the garlic, and that is doing really quite well. The Provence garlic, the Carcassonne garlic, again in this weather, and watering as well. I've been watering by hand because I've messed up my watering, my hose, but it's worth the effort. This is just a couple of days of watering, and they really are coming on so quickly. And at the end are the shallots, which I am growing for the first time, and I'm not quite sure whether I like or not. Most people would say, well, why don't you just buy some and eat some and see whether you like it? But I think that's far too easy. It's a lot of fun growing things. It's nice to grow something new every year, so I'll see how this goes. And from the back of the boysenberry bushes, I come over to the asparagus, a small little asparagus plot I've got. And I wasn't going to show you this because I've just seen a video with someone showing you his asparagus, and he's far more entertaining than I am. But I think I'll just show you how it's doing. I have to grovel down on the ground to get to this level to see it, and they are starting to come up beautifully now. And I should think they're doing this in most people's allotments or gardens, and I am looking forward to eating some of those. And I'm at home in my back garden now, and this is the lovely cherry blossom of Sunburst. I bought it from Chris Bowers about 28 years ago, and I bought it on dwarf rooting stock, but at that time I didn't know much about dwarf rooting stocks, and that there are several different types, so it's grown a bit taller than I wanted to, but I just adore the blossom, and it really is very beautiful, especially looking up through the blossom at the sky and close up. It's really gorgeous stuff. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and please comment, and I hope to see you soon.